What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be going over the top 5 drop spots in Rumbleverse with the most loot and the least amount of players. So guys, let's get into it. So there are a lot of drop spots in Rumbleverse, and I'm not going to be going over the big towers around the map because each game, if they are in the zone, they are covered in players. And honestly, there's no point in landing there because you end up getting no loot because you just get slapped out of the building. Instead, I'm going to be going over smaller locations that are still filled with loot but also don't have too many players. So sometimes they will be contested, I will not deny that. Sometimes there will be enemies there. But you aren't going to have to deal with 3 other players. You're going to have to deal with maybe 1 or 2. So first up on the list are the little train stations around the map. Now there are multiple of these that are just located everywhere. These always have at least around 6 crates, and then they have like 1 or 2 crates on top of them, along with a vending machine, usually dropping either a stamina drink or a protein powder, and then under them they also have loot. So these always are filled with so much loot, and the train tracks are also a good way to rotate in the zone without getting third partied, as you'll be not above everybody, but you'll have a lot of people in your sight line, so getting third partied will be less of an option. So if you don't know where to land and you see one of these train stations on the map, I would definitely recommend going there because it's always going to have a decent amount of loot, and I only had like 1 other player land there tops. Now second on the list we have the Gazebo, and this one is actually going to be a little bit contested depending if you're playing duos or solos. I usually see around 2 other duos or 2 other solos landing here, but I think this is okay and viable because the Gazebo has such a large amount of loot in this small area, and then if you don't win the 50-50 fight at the beginning of the match in the Gazebo, then you can go around and loot the park around it. There are also multiple buildings and multiple parks all around the Gazebo to loot, and this area is just filled with loot. So I always recommend landing here because you're gonna get into a fight, you know that, so you're going to get perks, and then you're also gonna get a good amount of loot. You can also go on top of the trees because the trees also have a lot of loot, and usually if you lose the fight in the Gazebo, the trees are going to be an uncontested spot. Now for number 3 on the list, this is one of my personal favorites, and this is the parking garage. The parking garage is located actually like almost right next to the Gazebo. It's not exactly next to it, but it's very close. And why I recommend this is because this location has 3 stories, and each story is filled to the rim with loot. I would say there are probably 12 to 15 crates here, and usually I see maybe 2-3 other people landing here max. Sometimes only 1. Sometimes I've been the only person landing there. But like I said, this is a really good location for loot, and it's also on high ground, so you're not gonna get third partied. Another good thing about this location is that it's also just surrounded by more places with loot. Overall, this is just a really good drop spot because it's filled with so much loot and isn't super contested. It's definitely one of my favorite drop spots in the game. Now do me a quick favor, and if you're finding any of these tips helpful at all, please smash that like button. It helps the video get out to others, and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more Rumbleverse tips. It would mean a lot, so thank you guys. Back to the video. Now coming in at number 2, I'm actually not sure what the name of this location is, but this is the giant park with a statue in the middle. It's around the edge of the map, and this is filled to the rim with loot. Now the loot isn't all right next to each other, which is one of the worst parts about this, but I'm telling you, literally like 2 other people land here, and this is a huge location, so you might not even run into them. There's a giant statue in the middle that usually has 3 or 4 chests around it, and then the trees have crates on top of them, and there are crates below them, and then right next to it there's also the giant trophy cup tower. So if you didn't get enough loot here, you can always go over there, even though there'll probably be a bunch of people rumbling it out over there. This one is definitely more low-key, and sometimes you will get into fights here, but sometimes you won't. And it's also right next to the apartment buildings where the pool is, so this is also another great area with loot. I don't recommend landing there because it's always very contested, but that's a great place to go after to then get some fights in and finally get it, and then gain some perks. Right next to the park, there is also a food truck that if you interact with it, you will get a free piece of chicken. So this is another plus. I just wanted to let you guys know, because if you do land here, you should definitely include this in your rotations, because, you know, we can always use some more chicken. Number 1 on this list is the rich estates / beach houses. This is an amazing location, and let me tell you why. Not only is there a crazy amount of loot, and it's very aesthetically pleasing, there are so many houses scattered around that there are just so many different areas to loot, and it's on the edge of the map, so it's never really contested as much as other areas. And you can also drop down in the middle of this little beach house pavilion. There is a sewer system, and in the sewer system you'll just find more and more loot, and it's also an escape route in case you're getting absolutely destroyed by an enemy. In the sewer system, there is another little restaurant where you can pick up some free chicken. So overall, this is a really great location. Tons of loot, tons of ways to escape if you're in a fight. There are also a lot of signs, so you can use these signs as weapons around. So you can use these signs as weapons to throw them in case you're losing and then dip. You can dip through the sewer system, or you could just dip and go somewhere else. But this is a really, really great location with tons of loot. After, you can yet again rotate to the trophy cup, or you can rotate to the apartments. It's very close to the park, so it's another great place to go, and you can even rotate to the park after. I wouldn't recommend landing at the park and then going to the pavilion. I would recommend going to the pavilion and then the park, just because it allows you to get closer to the center of the eye first, so you're not going to get caught in zone. So guys, those are my top 5 picks for the best Rumbleverse locations to help you get more wins. Let me know what you think of these, and let me know if you land at any of these locations. If this video was helpful, definitely drop a thumbs up. It means a lot, and it helps the channel out a lot. And subscribe if you're new around here. We post tons of Rumbleverse content, the latest and greatest tips and tricks. So guys, thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Peace out.